Hello, welcome back. It's time now for Media Watch here on France 24, and for that I'm joined as ever in the studio by James Creeding.
Good evening, Catherine.
Good evening, James. Now we're starting off with a declaration made by President Nicolas Sarkozy about the Toulouse shootings, which shocked a lot of people. But then he's made this declaration seeming to compare the shootings with 9/11 in the United States. What's the reaction been to that?
Well, I mean, I suppose he was careful in how he said it. He said he didn't really want to make the comparison, but yet he did. And then he was comparing, I suppose, the trauma more than the events themselves. But let's take a look at some of the headlines around the Daily Mail in the UK reporting what he said without any real sort of, what would you say, comment on it. So they don't seem to have much of a problem with the comparison as it was made. It was our 9/11, etc., etc. If you look at this, just a regular person on Twitter here, pointing out for him what he saw as a gross exaggeration, or an exaggeration. I suppose you could call it a gross exaggeration, really, in the sense that there were far more people killed in the 9/11 attacks. Jean-Luc Mélenchon, far-left candidate and opponent of Sarkozy in the election, thought that they were disproportionate, his remarks. And another person here reproaching Sarkozy for playing on the fears of people. And he points out too that Bush was re-elected after 9/11. So somebody there suggesting that it might be in Sarkozy's interests to play on
the politics of fear. And there is an argument, isn't it, that sometimes politicians, by creating insecurity...
That's right, can be seen as somebody who would protect, I suppose. But in any case, that's just some of the reactions. It didn't generate massive comment because he was relatively careful in how he framed those remarks. Now, just moving on quickly, Catherine, to what we were teasing on. It is just a few weeks ahead of a presidential election, and there is a particularity in the French system, or something kind of unusual. All of the candidates, big and small, equal speaking time on air. You could be Jacques Cheminade, who no one has ever heard of, with less than 1%.
There are 10 candidates, aren't they? And aside from Nicolas Sarkozy, François Hollande, Marine Le Pen, obviously there are 7 others as well.
That's right, who aren't as well known, but have to be given equal airtime. So just some comments. This is a website called Arrêt sur Image, which analyses media. Pascal Clark, who is a journalist for RTL, says, "Why did I just lose 5 minutes of my life listening to Jacques Cheminade, who is a sort of less well-known candidate?" Others pointing out that their media tend to play interviews with the less well-known candidates in the middle of the night, so that they fulfill the requirements.
Shift, as it were.
So that they fulfill the requirements without putting it on prime time. The Guardian has just woken up to Jacques Cheminade because he's getting his 15 minutes of fame now with this rule, as they point out. They point out that he once said that the Queen was a drugs baroness, that she had earned some of her fortune, according to him, from the drugs trade, which
Sounds
seems
like an entirely suitable platform to run on for French president, doesn't it?
It's a bit odd. So there you go, the Guardian waking up to him. And I think this is the story that maybe got the most comments today, Catherine. A poll.
Why does that not surprise me? Just looking at that picture.
You know, that word, whether it be in English or French, sex or sexe, it tends to make people click on the article. And what it is, basically, is a poll that was conducted by IFOP, very respectable polling agency here in France, and the somewhat less respectable Hot Video.
I've not heard of them, but I guess
porn
that's
magazine.
A new collaboration there.
This is unusual. So what they did, there's pie charts and everything, and photos like that, and also pie charts. If you keep scrolling down far enough, I think you find them. But in any case, there they are. Okay. Now, I'll just give you the highlights of this. Apparently,
it looks complicated, I have to say. I can't quite imagine.
Well, I'll boil it down. The voters who have the most sex are actually far-right voters. So people who vote for the Front National party apparently get it on most often.
How do they know?
I don't know. Maybe they went out. I don't know. I was going to say something inappropriate, but I won't. The voters who are most into swinging or swapping their partners are the far left at a whopping 10%. Apparently, they've far left Jean-Luc Mélenchon voters into that sort of stuff, and centrist Bayrou voters get the least action.
Perhaps they just can't decide between the.
They're like, we don't know. We don't know what our preferences are.
I feel we're on dangerous broadcasting territory here, James. So I think we should probably wrap
just leave it right there.
We'll leave it. But thanks, very interesting survey there by IFOP and what was
Hot Video.
Hot Video. Thanks for bringing us that.
You can Google it.
France 24. All right. Thanks very much indeed, James Creedon. Stay tuned. More news coming up very soon.